welcome to Footnotes. My name is Matt Simon. I am here to recap the most ravishing language and ideas in the last week of Wired. First up this week, we have sleeper sharks, which are considered to be the lazy oafs of the depths. Wired Science this week took a look at a study that was trying to figure out how exactly these sharks were catching seals when they can swim no more than 2 miles an hour, and most of them are blind because they have parasitic worms attached to their eyeballs. It turns out that polar bears have been eating the seals while they're sleeping on land, so when they're sleeping in the ocean, all the sharks have to do is sniff them out, mosey up, and take a big old bite out of them. Now this is highly embarrassing for the seals. You can imagine one waking up in the morning missing a flipper, and his friends come up to him and say, "Dude, what happened? You got your flipper taken by a sleeper shark." And the seal would respond with something like, "Well, first of all, I thought he'd be sleeping at that hour. And second of all, I really wish you'd lay off me on this one because I woke up this morning one flipper short." Incidentally, Icelanders will eat these sharks, which can actually be very poisonous if you don't treat it properly because they're chock full of what is essentially antifreeze on account of the very deep, cold depths that they live in. And in order to prep it, you have to rot it for months on end. And when that happens, it acquires this very ammonia-y odor. It should be said that it actually tastes a little bit better than it smells. However, Anthony Bourdain has said that it is the worst food he's ever tasted, and that chef who yells a lot, Gordon Ramsay, was filmed eating it, very briefly stopped yelling in order to throw up, and then resumed yelling. How Bjork feels about this food, I can't rightly say. Next up, dog food, naturally. At Google's big I/O conference last week, the company announced a music streaming device called the Nexus Q, and in an exclusive report from our own John Phillips, he mentioned that Google employees had been dog fooding the device at office parties. Now, dog fooding is a fairly obscure term outside of the tech community. It basically means for a company to give products to its employees to test out with the idea that if it's good enough for the employees, it's good enough for the general populace. Sergey Brin has been doing this rather publicly with the Google Glass project. Those are the augmented reality specs that our futurists have been promising us for decades. You might be wondering how a noun like this came to be a verb. And the story goes, and I really hope this is true, that there was a president of a pet food company who would go to his shareholder meetings and just dig in to a can of his own dog food. This is great for inspiring confidence in your product, not so great for inspiring confidence in yourself as a business leader.